Let me ask you something real. Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right, but the more effort you put into a guy, the more he pulls away? You text first, you show interest, you're available, and somehow it backfires. Sound familiar? Here's the truth. No one's telling you. Men are wired to chase, but only when you activate the right emotional triggers. If you're constantly initiating, proving your worth, or trying to win him over, you've unknowingly reversed polarity. And the more you chase, the less he feels compelled to pursue you. But here's the good news. This isn't about playing hard to get or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about stepping into your natural feminine energy in a way that makes him feel magnetized to you. Not because you're manipulating him, but because you're finally aligning with the kind of woman he's biologically wired to desire and pursue. In this video, I'm going to break down the exact mindset, behaviors, and subtle shifts that cause a man to lean in, invest emotionally, and stay interested. Not for a week, but for the long haul. We're talking about real attraction psychology, not surface-level tricks. If you're ready to stop overgiving, overthinking, and over-pursuing, and instead become the kind of woman he sees as rare, mysterious, and unforgettable, you're exactly where you need to be. So grab your coffee, silence the distractions, and watch this all the way through. Because once you understand what I'm about to share, you'll never have to chase a man again. Now let's get into the single biggest mistake that causes so many women to lose a man's interest without even realizing it. And that is this: trying to earn his affection instead of inspiring it. Let that sink in. Most women are taught subtly and overtly that love has to be proven. That if you're kind enough, available enough, patient enough, eventually he'll see your worth. But the truth? When you try to prove your value to a man, you're silently signaling that you don't see it in yourself. And men pick up on that fast. When you overinvest too early, constantly initiate conversations, make yourself overly available, or tolerate inconsistency just to be understanding, you shift the dynamic. You move from being a mystery to being predictable, from inspiring curiosity to offering comfort too soon. And here's the irony. Men don't fall in love with comfort. They fall in love with contrast. The spark of unpredictability, the thrill of discovering who you really are. That doesn't happen when everything is handed to him up front. Think about this. When you give too much access too soon, you rob him of the joy of earning your time and attention. And what we earn, we value. What we're handed, we often take for granted. So many women think they're being loving when they show up 100% right away. But in a man's subconscious mind, this can come across as pressure, even desperation. He may not say it out loud, but something inside him starts to withdraw. Instead, the shift is this: inspire his pursuit by holding your own. Know your worth deeply enough that you don't need his validation. You don't chase, you attract. You don't over-explain, you express. You don't overcompensate, you observe. And from that place, he begins to lean in. The moment you stop trying to win him over is the moment you become the woman who naturally captures his full attention and keeps it. Because real attraction isn't about being everything to him. It's about being fully yourself and letting him realize you're not like the rest. Let's break down what actually triggers a man to chase. Not text back out of politeness, not spend time with you out of routine, but genuinely pursue you with desire and intent. Because this is the shift that changes everything. Here's the truth. Desire is not triggered by availability. It's triggered by uncertainty with emotional safety. Let me explain. A man starts chasing when you strike the balance between being emotionally open, but not completely emotionally predictable. He needs to feel that connecting with you is rewarding, but not something he can take for granted. That slight unpredictability, that she's into me but she's not orbiting me, is what sparks his instinct to pursue. Think about this in the early stages. If you're always initiating, always available, and always responsive the moment he reaches out, there's no tension, no mystery, and without tension there's no desire. It's that subtle friction, that feeling of I want more but I'm not quite sure I have her yet, that activates his pursuit mechanism. This doesn't mean playing games or being manipulative. It means having a full, satisfying life, with or without him, and making sure that shows. You don't drop everything when he calls. You don't share your whole world too quickly. You reveal yourself in layers. Men chase when they feel emotionally intrigued, when they sense you're not desperate for attention, but open to connection. They chase when they feel that your validation is earned, not given freely. That's the key. Here's a practical way to spark desire. Mirror his effort, but don't exceed it. If he texts, you respond, but you don't initiate every conversation. If he makes plans, you accept, but you're not clearing your entire week waiting for him to ask. You engage, but you let him lead. Another powerful trigger: presence. When you're with him, really be there. Make eye contact. Listen. Laugh. Don't look at your phone. That feminine presence is magnetic. Then when you're apart, allow that space. Let him miss your energy. That gap creates longing, and longing fuels the chase. Also, don't underestimate the power of self-respect. If something feels off, say it. If you're unsure about where it's going, ask. When a woman values herself enough to express standards calmly and without fear of loss, a man registers her as high value, and he'll rise to meet that. At the end of the day, the chase isn't about being cold or distant. It's about creating the space for a man to step into his masculine energy, to lead, to pursue, to invest. And when you allow that space, without overcorrecting, he doesn't just chase, he commits. So remember, the real trigger of desire is the woman who is available, but not eager, open, but not overgiving, interested, but not dependent. That balance is what keeps him wondering, what can I do to get closer to her? And that's when the chase becomes natural. There's something unspoken that happens when a woman truly understands her feminine energy. She walks into a room and doesn't have to demand attention. She simply receives it. Not because she's the loudest or the most glamorous, but because her energy speaks before she does. That's what makes her magnetic. Not her looks, not her words, her presence. Feminine energy isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. It's the confidence in not needing to convince or control. It's the quiet power of knowing who you are and never chasing anyone to see it. And the moment you stop trying to impress him and instead let him experience you, something shifts. He stops seeing you as someone to evaluate and starts feeling you as someone he doesn't want to lose. When you embody this energy, your movements slow down, your voice softens, your gaze lingers. You stop rushing to fill silence or prove your value through effort. You become calm, receptive, radiant. And that emotional calmness is like oxygen to a man who's used to noise and pressure. He feels safe around you, but he also feels drawn in, like there's more to discover. That's the magnetism he can't explain. And that's exactly what keeps him chasing. It's not about being passive or playing hard to get. It's about learning the art of receiving, allowing energy to come to you without forcing the outcome. A magnetic woman doesn't beg for connection. She doesn't chase attention. She simply exists in such a full, self-anchored way that a man naturally wants to get closer. And part of that magnetism comes from emotional expression. Not oversharing, not unloading, but expressing what you feel, with softness and clarity. A woman who can say, I feel, instead of, you, never changes the entire emotional dynamic. She doesn't fight for space. She invites intimacy. And that invitation, when it's rooted in authenticity, becomes irresistible. When a man senses that you're not performing, not seeking, not trying to prove anything, he relaxes. And in that relaxation, he starts feeling desire, feeling connection, feeling like he needs to show up more because you're not trying to take over his role. You're letting him lead, but from a place of power, not passivity. And here's the key. The more you're anchored in your own joy, your own glow, your own inner richness, the more magnetic you become. Feminine energy thrives in pleasure, in laughter, in being emotionally present, not in proving worth. That emotional freedom is what makes a man lean in, not because you asked him to, but because he wants to. Because once he experiences your energy, that soft mystery, that grounded joy, that effortless grace, he won't just chase it, he'll crave it. Let's talk about what actually makes a man invest in a woman, emotionally, mentally, and long term. It's not looks, it's not how much you do for him, it's not how available you make yourself. What makes a man truly invest is how he perceives your value. And value is never something you declare, it's something you embody. High-value women don't ask for effort, they inspire it, not by playing games, but by living in a way that naturally filters out anything or anyone not aligned with what they deserve. It's in how they speak, how they carry themselves, how they move through the world with a quiet certainty that says, I am the prize. I'm not chasing anything. If you want access to me, show me why you should stay. When a woman has standards and sticks to them, without flinching, a man feels it. Not because she's demanding or harsh, but because she respects herself so deeply that disrespect can't even find a home in her life. And that energy makes him step up or step out, which is exactly what it's designed to do. One of the most powerful habits of a high-value woman is that she's not available to inconsistency. She doesn't tolerate mixed signals, last-minute plans, or emotional breadcrumbs. If he's in, she welcomes him. If he's unsure, she doesn't chase clarity, she creates distance. That response teaches him more about her value than any words ever could. Another trait, emotional discipline. She doesn't pour her entire heart out to someone who hasn't earned it. She shares, yes, but with intention, with pace, with discernment, because she knows her vulnerability is powerful, and not everyone deserves access to it. This doesn't make her cold, it makes her captivating. A high-value woman also invests in herself first. She has passions, routines, friendships, boundaries. She's not sitting around waiting for a text or an invitation. She's already full, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. And that fullness is what draws a man in. Because when she gives, it's not to be chosen, it's an overflow. That's the kind of energy that makes a man want to protect, provide, and pursue. Because he sees her as someone he could lose, not someone he can take for granted. The truth is, a man invests when he feels challenged in the right way, not with drama or games, but with energy that calls him higher. When he knows that showing up halfway won't be enough. When he sees that keeping you means he has to do the work too. And once a man experiences the presence of a woman who doesn't need him, but chooses him, that's when he stops playing games. That's when the effort becomes consistent. Because now, he's not just interested, he's invested. Imagine the difference between feeling bored and feeling alive, between being stuck in routine and being caught up in a whirlwind of emotions. Emotional contrast is the secret ingredient that turns a relationship from just okay to unforgettable. It's the push and pull, the highs and lows, the moments that make his heart race and his mind obsess. Here's why emotional contrast works. Humans are wired to respond to contrast. When every moment feels the same, calm, predictable, and steady, our brains stop paying attention. But when there's variety, joy mixed with frustration, laughter alongside vulnerability, our emotions ignite. And when a man experiences that dynamic with you, he can't help but get pulled in deeper. Emotional contrast isn't about drama or conflict. It's about showing the full spectrum of who you are. It's okay to be playful and teasing one moment, then soft and tender the next. It's okay to have boundaries and then melt in his presence. This dance creates emotional depth and tension, two things that fuel desire. Think about the most memorable moments you've had with someone. They likely involved an emotional shift, a surprising laugh after a serious talk, a passionate moment after a playful tease. Those contrasts keep a man emotionally engaged because he's never quite sure what to expect, but he wants to find out. But be careful, emotional contrast isn't an excuse for unpredictability that hurts or confuses. It's a balanced blend of strength and softness, fire and calm. When you master this, you create a magnetic energy that invites a man to invest more of himself. He'll find himself chasing not just your affection, but your emotional world. This is powerful because it moves beyond surface-level attraction. It taps into something primal, the need for emotional stimulation and connection. When a man feels this contrast with you, he feels alive. He feels seen in all your layers. And that connection is the fuel that keeps him coming back. So how do you create this contrast? Start by being authentic in your emotions. Allow yourself to express joy, disappointment, excitement, and vulnerability without apology. Don't be afraid to hold your ground and show strength. Then soften and open up. This ebb and flow is magnetic. Remember, emotional contrast isn't about manipulation. It's about embracing the complexity of your feelings and inviting him to experience that with you. It's what turns ordinary interactions into unforgettable memories and casual interest into deep investment. When you master emotional contrast, you don't just keep his attention, you capture his heart. Control in dating isn't about manipulation or playing tricks. It's about owning your power in a way that feels authentic, grounded, and respectful to both yourself and him. So many women think being in control means withholding, texting late, or acting distant to get a reaction. But the truth, those tactics often backfire, creating confusion, frustration, and pushing the connection away. Real control comes from emotional clarity. It's knowing what you want, why you want it, and having the confidence to express that without fear or apology. When you're clear about your boundaries and desires, you don't need to play games to keep him interested. Your energy naturally commands respect because it's rooted in self-respect. Imagine this. Instead of wondering when to reply or how much to text, you focus on how you feel and what feels right for you. You communicate openly, whether that's sharing your excitement, your limits, or your needs without second guessing or testing him. That honesty is magnetic. It creates trust, not tension. Staying in control also means managing your emotions. It doesn't mean shutting them down or pretending everything's perfect. It means choosing your response consciously rather than reacting impulsively. When a man sees you're steady, not easily shaken by ups and downs, he feels safe to show up fully. Your calm becomes a container for the relationship to grow. Another powerful part of staying in control is owning your time and energy. You don't rearrange your entire life around a man's availability or mood. You live your life on your terms, cultivating your passions, friendships, and goals. That independence isn't a threat, it's an invitation. It signals that you're valuable and that your world is rich with or without him. Now here's the secret most don't know. Men respect women who lead with authenticity, not tactics. When you drop the mask and play from a place of genuine self-worth, you create a magnetic field that pulls him closer, not pushes him away. You don't have to pretend to be mysterious or complicated to stay in control. You just have to be you, confident, clear, and kind. And when you do that, you stop chasing. Instead, you attract, because real control is about balance, holding your power without forcing the outcome, expressing your needs without guilt, and creating space for connection without pressure. So if you want to stay in control, start by owning your feelings, setting clear boundaries, and living with purpose. Ditch the games, keep your heart open, and trust that your authenticity is your strongest magnet. Have you ever noticed that when you suddenly pull back just a little, maybe stop texting as much, or take a step back from all the effort, he starts reaching out more? That's no accident. The pullback strategy isn't about playing cold or being mean. It's about creating space that invites him to feel your absence, to realize what he's missing when you're not instantly available. Most women think they need to chase harder to keep his attention. The truth is, when you chase too much, you actually reduce your value in his eyes. You become predictable, easy to get, and less intriguing. But when you step back thoughtfully, you tap into a powerful emotional trigger: scarcity. This isn't about disappearing completely or ghosting. It's about pulling back just enough to shift the dynamic. When you do less, he does more. When you don't fill every silence, he's invited to lean in and fill it himself. This subtle shift makes him notice you differently, not just as someone always there, but as someone worth pursuing. Here's the key. The pullback has to feel natural and authentic. It's not a manipulative game or a test. It's simply respecting your own time and energy, and trusting that your value doesn't depend on constant contact. When you respect yourself enough to pull back, you're actually showing him you're confident and independent, and that's magnetic. At the same time, pulling back creates emotional contrast. Suddenly your absence becomes a presence. The space you create allows him to remember the good times, the laughs, the connection, the parts of you that made him want to chase in the first place. That feeling of missing you, it's powerful. It stirs desire. It sparks action. But remember, timing is everything. Pulling back too soon or too harshly can feel like rejection or indifference. Pulling back too late means you've already lost his attention. The secret is to notice when the energy feels one-sided, when you're the one initiating most of the contact, and then gently step back to restore balance. This strategy isn't about withholding love or affection. It's about creating emotional space so that love and affection become a choice he makes, rather than a given you always offer. When he chooses to reach out, to engage, and to invest, that's when the chase begins. So next time you feel yourself pushing too hard, try pulling back instead. Trust that your presence is powerful enough to be missed. When he starts to miss you, you'll see a shift, not just in how often he reaches out, but in how deeply he wants to connect. You've made it this far, and that means you're serious about creating the kind of connection that lasts. A connection where he truly chases you, values you, and wants to be with you forever. This isn't just about tricks or strategies. It's about becoming the woman who naturally commands love and respect by simply being herself. What we've covered today, the way you carry your energy, how you set boundaries, the power of emotional contrast, and even knowing when to walk away. These aren't just tips. They're a new way of seeing yourself and your worth. When you start living this way, you stop chasing from a place of need and start attracting from a place of power. Now the next step is up to you. Take these lessons, practice them with intention, and watch how your relationships transform. Remember, change doesn't happen overnight. It's about small, consistent actions, choosing your worth every day, speaking your truth, and honoring your boundaries. The more you do this, the stronger your magnetic energy becomes. If you found value in this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more insights like these. Share your thoughts in the comments. What stood out to you? What's one thing you're ready to start doing differently? Your story might inspire someone else on this journey. Also, if you want deeper guidance, check out the resources linked below. Whether it's coaching, workshops, or downloadable guides, there's something to support you every step of the way. Remember, you're not alone in this. Thousands of women are learning how to love themselves fiercely while attracting the right kind of love. It's your time to join them, to step into your power, radiate confidence, and create a love that lasts. Thank you for spending this time with me. I believe in you, and I can't wait to hear about your journey. Keep shining, keep growing, and never forget the love you deserve is chasing you too. See you in the next video.